and over 1.5 feet of snowfall for parts of eastern North America, and the storm has a lot of hype around it, but for good reason. It's a really interesting storm. So number one, it has an eye-like feature that looks like a hurricane, but it's not uncommon to see it in this type of storm, and it's because we have so much warm air wrapping around it that it becomes secluded, and it gives it a look of a hurricane even though it functions more as a winter storm. And so it can still produce, though, hurricane force wind gusts, which will definitely be the worst part of the storm. Number two, when it's all said and done, this will have dropped snowfall from northern Florida all the way up the east coast and through Atlantic Canada and into Nunavut and Greenland, over a 4,000-kilometer distance, with the heaviest snow falling into New England and in through parts of New Brunswick, with definitely over 1 foot of snowfall possible. Number three, this is possibly going to be a very strong weather bomb. It's already reached that status as of Thursday morning, dropping over 30 millibars in just 12 hours. And some researchers believe that, if it drops over 40 millibars in just 24 hours, this will likely be in the top 5% of all rapidly intensifying extratropical cyclones. On top of that, this is producing a massive wind field that expands all the way from Ontario in through the central Atlantic Ocean. An intense winter storm will impact eastern North America with about 1 foot of snow for some areas and very damaging wind gusts, and it's got a lot of hype around it, but for good reason. This is a really impressive storm for so many different reasons. The first is that this will be a weather bomb, but a really big one. Usually you need about 24 millibars of a pressure drop in 24 hours. This one's got 42 in just 24 hours. This is also going to produce a very huge wind field that extends about 50 degrees of longitude from Ontario all the way in towards the central Atlantic Ocean, which will likely produce widespread power outages from the mid-Atlantic into Atlantic Canada. It's also brought the first snowfall for Tallahassee, Florida. So northern Florida saw snowfall this morning, the first they've seen in 28 years. We have winter storm warnings in effect on Wednesday that expanded the entire eastern seaboard and went in through Atlantic Canada. It also will drop snowfall not just from northern Florida and into Atlantic Canada, but it will expand all the way up and towards Nunavut, about a distance of 4,000 kilometers. But by far the heaviest snow will be impacting areas from the mid-Atlantic up and towards the Maritimes, with about 1.5 feet of snowfall.
Area right on into next week. So we saw it last week, we're seeing it next week, and we're kind of getting into this trend where the cold is sticking around. The concern as we move into the next couple of days will be some of this energy that we're watching down near Florida. This is something that will likely evolve into a major East Coast storm, possibly even a nor'easter. Let's take a look at the evolution of our next snowstorm. We're moving into Thursday morning, and you'll start to see that snow pushing into the area, potentially a mix as we move down toward the Cape. But by Thursday afternoon and Thursday night, that's when we get into the strength of the storm. Northeast winds kicking up in strength, also the intensity of the snow picking up. Plus, we'll also see those temperatures start to fall quickly as we move from Thursday night right on into Friday. Now, there's a potential for Friday for some lingering snow showers, but the bigger impact for Friday and into the weekend will be the frigid cold, the coldest air we have seen so far. Wind is a big component with this system, though. We're looking to see a potential of wind gusts over 50 miles per hour for much of the area, especially as we move toward the coastline, even stronger as we move down toward the Cape and Islands. The concern with that is that, of course, in itself, strong winds could be damaging, but we also are looking to see an astronomically higher tide for Thursday afternoon. Around 12:30, that high tide projected to reach over 12 feet. In addition to that coastal storm pushing through, that will bring a potential for coastal flooding in our area. High seas also a concern, anywhere between 15 to 20 feet at this point. That is something we'll also have to monitor. The wind chill right now is down into the negatives, -10 in Boston, 12 below as you're heading out toward Worcester, even moving down toward the Cape. We're seeing those wind chills in the negatives as well. Bottom line, it's cold and it remains cold through tonight. The wind will work in our favor, though. It's going to start to die down. So as we move into tomorrow morning, still that wind chill down to about 14 below, but not quite as cold as what we saw earlier this morning. Tonight will be clear and cold, no signs of rain or snow as that wind eventually dies down. The actual temperature near 0 degrees, but the wind chill anywhere between 5 to even 15 below. Tomorrow, mostly sunny. We'll see that wind not quite as strong, and so this 18-degree high will feel like it's down into the single digits for much of the area. We're watching that nor'easter, and really that's the main impact as we move into Thursday, which is why we've highlighted Thursday on the 7-day forecast as an impact weather day. Temperatures staying in the 20s Thursday, big drop into Friday. The snow coming to an end, but still an impact as we see that strong wind in place on the back end of the system. By Saturday, an extreme cold as we see low temperatures dropping into the teens, the risk of frostbite and hypothermia. For Storm Team 5, I'm meteorologist Kellyanne Chickalise.
So let's focus a little bit on that, okay? This is the overview. Looks like a major nor'easter for eastern New England, eastern Massachusetts, and that implies and means heavy snow, powerful northeast and then northerly winds and northwesterly winds even after the storm departs. And yes, we have coastal concerns because the tides are higher than normal, astronomical high tides. You know, we have another supermoon, and that's what happened. So that 12:30 p.m. Thursday tide, which we'll talk more about. Meantime, look at early this